Hey, folks. I'm not there today, and I'm sorry. I miss you too. I know you were all thinking it. I am here in spirit to share with you First Chapter Friday. So thank you for listening along. And today I'm going to share with you a story that I absolutely love. This is the book Elatsoe by Darcy Little Badger. It is the best thing that came out of 2020. And I absolutely adore this novel. And as you can see from how well loved it is, my students have loved it over the years as well. This is a story of monsters. This a story of legend. This is a story of love, and it's absolutely great. Elatsoe is the main character, and she lives in a very kind of similar America to today, but one that is embodied with all of these other creatures and dangers. And so this actually falls into a category that I love called low fantasy, meaning that it happens in a very believable place like America, but with different fantasy elements. And I love that genre. I think it's a lot of fun. So low fantasy is what you're going to put down for that. And let's get to it. Chapter 1, Elatsoe. Enjoy. Ellie bought the life-size plastic skull at a garage sale. The goth neighbors were moving to Salem and they couldn't fit an entire Halloween warehouse into their black van. After bringing the purchase home, she dug through the box of craft supplies and glued a pair of googly eyes into its shallow eye sockets. "I've got you a new friend, Kirby," Ellie said. "Here, boy, come on." Kirby already fetched tennis balls and puppy toys. Sure, anything looked astonishing when it zipped across the room in the mouth of an invisible dog. But a floating googly skull would be extra special and extra funny. Unfortunately, the skull terrified Kirby. He wouldn't go near it, much less touch it. Maybe it was possessed by some demonic vacuum cleaner. More likely, the skull just smelled weird. Judging by the soy candles and incense sticks at the garage sale, the neighbors enjoyed burning fragrant stuff. "Look, a treat!" Ellie put a cheese cube in the skull's mouth. Although Ghost didn't eat, Kirby enjoyed sniffing his old favorites: chicken kibble, peanut butter, and cheddar. He'd been her best friend for 17 years, 12 alive and 5 dead, and Ellie was confident that if food couldn't persuade him to be brave, nothing would. "Yum, yum," she said. "Smells cheesy. Skullfriend won't hurt you." Kirby, in a fine example of English Springer Spaniel breed, hid under the bed. "Fine," Ellie said. "We have all summer." She'd spent $5 on a gag that would not be abandoned after just one wasted cheese cube. Kirby had progressed a lot since his death. Ellie still wasn't allowed to bring him on school property, but since the sixth grade Howl incident, Kirby hadn't caused any trouble, and his cache of tricks had doubled. There were the mundane ones, yes: sit, stay, heal, play dead, literally, and track sense. Moreover, the door had been open to a bunch of marvelous supernatural powers. He just had to learn them without causing too much incidental chaos. Ellie ate the cheese and chucked a squeaky yellow bear plushie across the room. It stopped mid-arc, suspended 2 feet above the gray carpet. The air around Bear Buddy shimmered, and its head squished twice. Squeak, squeak. "Good boy," Ellie said. Maybe for Kirby's peace of mind, the skull should make a funny sound, maybe a rattle or a tiny scream. Bear Buddy flopped out of Kirby's mouth and landed on the hardwood floor with a pathetic half squeak. Strange. Usually he returned the toys to Ellie. Kirby wasn't the kind of dog who treated fetch like a game of keep away. "Bring Mr. Bear Buddy," Ellie said. "Bring it." In response, Kirby turned fully visible, as if somebody had flipped a switch from shimmery transparent to opaque. "You okay, buddy?" Ellie asked. It took effort for the dead to be seen. He rarely became visible without her clear command to appear. What is it? Are you still scared? Does this help? She covered the skull with an old sweater. Instead of relaxing, Kirby tucked his tail and darted from the bedroom. Hey! Ellie ran into the hall, but he wasn't there. Kirby, she called. Here, boy. He popped through the stucco wall, whining. Paranormal vibrations hummed through her bones. She felt like a tuning fork, one with resonating worry. He was anxious, terribly anxious. Why? The skull? Nah, he couldn't see that ridiculous thing anymore. When Ellie's grandfather had a heart attack, Kirby threw a fit, as if he could sense Grandpa's pain. Maybe to ghosts, or at least ghost dogs, emotions resembled radio signals, and signals were strong when they belonged to a loved one. Could somebody be in pain? Somebody Kirby knew? Ellie's parents were at the movies with their phones turned off, sitting in the dark theater, enjoying a rare but treasured date night. Would it also be their last? No. No. Maybe? She tried calling them both, but there was no answer. They were fine, probably. That said, every time Ellie left the house, the oven was probably turned off, but she still double checked it every time. Ellie had to know with absolute certainty that her parents were safe. The six-screen theater was 5 miles away from home, 3 miles if she cut across the river using the old railroad bridge. It had been closed to traffic for years. Ellie couldn't remember the last time a train crossed the Haratonic River on its rusty tracks. Sometimes, as Ellie walked home from school, she noticed people on the abandoned bridge. It drew even darker crowds at night. Darkness protected graffiti artists. They climbed 40, 50, even 60 feet above the river to paint the highest trusses. She wondered if the risk was worth the payoff. From the deck, a plummet into the Haratonic River might be survivable, if the artist could swim and the river was calm. Much higher than that? Probably not. It was possible, likely even, that those who climbed bridges at night were more resistant and resilient than mere humans. If so, Ellie didn't want to meet them. She could handle mundane dangers like violent men with guns or knives, but every tunnel, bridge, and abandoned building in the city was allegedly home to monsters. She'd heard whispers about clans of teenage-bodied vampires, carnivorous mothmen, immortal serial killers, devil cults, cannibal families, and even slender people. Even if most of the urban legends were fictitious, Ellie had a ghost dog companion. When it came to strange stuff, she couldn't be too open-minded. At the front door, Ellie slipped into tennis shoes and a reflective athletic jacket. Her bike had red lights on its handlebars and seat. They might alert drivers to her presence, but she needed something stronger to illuminate her path across the bridge. After a moment of frantic searching that left half the kitchen cabinets yawning open, she grabbed a battery-powered flashlight from the cluttered drawer. "Heel, Kirby," she said, and they stepped outside together. Ellie lived near the top of a small mountain. The ride downhill would be quick, if not safe. She fastened her helmet and pedaled her bike to the crack-latticed cement street. From a 100-year-old oak tree that dominated her modest lawn, a barn owl hooted twice. When Ellie pinned it with her flashlight beam, the bird lighted from its branch and silently flew away. "Damn it," Ellie said. Many owls, most owls, were just ordinary birds with a greater reputation for wisdom than they deserved. Ellie regularly volunteered at a raptor rehabilitation center. There, a great horned owl named Rosie fought everything that moved, including a bald eagle in a neighboring cage, veterinarians, handlers, rustling leaves, even its own shadow was a victim. Ellie's grandmother often said, "A wise woman knows how to pick her battles." Ellie would add that an unwise bird nearly dies by attacking its own reflection. The second kind of owl, though, owl with a capital O, was a bad omen times 10. Owl will wait until your life skirts the precipice of tragedy and it'll shove you straight into the abyss. As Ellie sped downhill, her wheels click, click, clicking double time, the neighborhood was all cricket chirps and empty streets. People started work early in her blue-collar town. They might not be sleeping at 9 p.m., but they were settling down. Television screens projected talk shows and sitcoms through uncovered windows. Near the base of the mountain, the buildings she passed abruptly changed from private homes to businesses. Ellie's brakes hissed against butyl rubber as she took a sharp turn onto Main Street. To the right, three men smoked pungent cigars outside a tavern called Roxy's. She parted their sour-smelling mist. "Hey, slow down," one guy hollered, and she could not decide whether he sounded angry or amused. Brick factory buildings flanked the river, their facades crumbling, their windows dark and occasionally cracked. They used to manufacture plastics in the town, and the chemical footprint persisted. White signs warned would-be fishermen, "Warning, catch and release only, heterotonic fish and wildlife contaminated with PCBs." Near the bridge, somebody had vandalized a catch and release only sign with skull and crossbones. Ellie walked her bike across a rocky strip of weeds between the street and the bridge. Long grasses brushed her cotton pants, every tickle unnerving. She imagined disease-filled ticks scampering up her legs. Their bites would stitch a quilt of welts and a ring-shaped rash across her flesh. Her father counted every tick he extracted from dogs and cats at the public shelter. Every year the number rose. They were either more abundant or more efficient hunters. Ellie had not decided which was worse. Before her, steel trusses jutted from the wide bridge deck and cut the sky into diamonds. At sunset, the slices of empty space resembled jewels on a giant's necklace. A metal walkway ran along one side of the bridge. The smooth, narrow surface was easier to bike across than gritty cement. Ellie jumped on her bike, then shifted to a higher gear and accelerated. Her legs burned from her calves to her thighs. Although she biked often, she also biked slowly, always mindful of her surroundings. But it was nighttime, and darkness obscured the view, and there were no pedestrians to avoid. Or so she thought. Halfway across the bridge, part of a low diagonal beam shifted. Somebody was trying to climb the great structure. The key word here was trying. As Ellie approached, the person slipped a couple of inches and dropped something. The object, which was suspiciously shaped like a spray paint can, fell into the river. "Just passing through," Ellie shouted. She mentally reached for Kirby, and he was there at her side within seconds, an invisible comfort. Dead or alive, dogs could skip from deep nap unconscious to awake and ready for anything, almost instantaneously. She envied that skill. The person flattened against the wide beam the same way squirrels put their bellies to the ground and freeze when they try to escape the notice. Ellie stopped, balancing on her bike wheels and steadying one foot, ready to ride at a moment's notice. Kirby was wagging his tail, acting like he knew the wannabe Spider-Man. Did he? Was this why Kirby had been so upset earlier? "You okay?" Ellie asked. She shone her flashlight on the climber. It illuminated his backside, an awkward angle, but the butt didn't look familiar. Or did it? Stand back, he called. I'm gonna hop down. Okay, his voice sounded really familiar, but she must be mistaken. Jay? Ellie asked. You cannot be. Hey, careful! Don't fall in the water! In an attempt to dismount from the beam, the climber swiveled around, chest to the metal, his feet dangling several feet above the deck. Then he dropped onto the walkway with a graceful thunk and rolled. Yep, Ellie had seen that somersault before. It was him, Jay Ross. She and Jay met when their mothers attended the same Lamaze program. They weren't next door neighbors, but they lived on the same block, went to the same school, celebrated their birthdays together. Point was, Ellie knew Jay, and he'd never done graffiti more permanent than chalk on the sidewalk. Second point, Kirby also knew Jay well. Maybe Ellie didn't have to worry about her parents after all. Ellie propped her bike on its wobbly kickstand. What are you doing? She asked. Ellie, Jay lifted one hand, his index finger extended, and poked her in the middle of the forehead. It is you. He laughed and ducked his head, embarrassed. Sorry, I just want to know that you're solid. This bridge is supposed to be haunted. It is, she said. My dog is here. Are you okay? Kirby, hey, boy. Are you taking a walk? Jay leaned over and wiggled his fingers, enticing the dog closer. Always excited to greet an old friend, Kirby ran up to him. Jay petted the shimmer over hot asphalt mirage that signaled an invisible ghost, mindful not to put his hand through Kirby's body. Ellie, did you catch my paint? He asked. The river caught it. He laughed at his own forehead. Always bring a backup. Of course I'd mess this up. And what is this exactly? She asked. Should I be worried? It's personal. Don't worry. I can't continue without paint anyway. Right. Are you walking home? Want to borrow my jacket so cars can avoid you? For probably the first time ever, Jay wore black from chin to toe. His tennis shoes, his sweats, his turtleneck that were ripped from a catalog of cartoon burglar apparel. In fact, at certain angles, he resembled a floating head, a head with short blonde curls and wide-set hazel eyes. He and Ellie looked pretty different, which used to annoy her. As children, they'd pretend to be twins, but strangers didn't believe that a white, Celtic, and Nordic American boy and a brown Apache girl came from the same family. Thanks, he said, but it's fine. I'm wearing a yellow tank under this. Look. He whipped off the turtleneck so quickly that his fabric fluffed his hair with static electricity. That wouldn't do you any favors if you fell into the water, she said. Climbing human pyramids doesn't qualify you for this. Oh no, I don't climb. I'm the base during stunts, Jay said, as if her misunderstanding of cheerleading procedures was the real issue. You should find a safer spot to vandalize. Or not vandalize at all. How about that? Ellie, I'm not here to paint, he said. It's Brittany. He slumped on the tracks with his knees tucked against his chest. Jay looked sad, like Puppy in the Rain sad. As much as Ellie loathed romantic relationship talk, she'd never even been on a date, didn't plan to go on a date, and didn't know how to counsel and console about this whole dating thing. She couldn't just leave a puppy in the rain. Brittany? She asked. Your girlfriend, Brittany, or the Brittany in chess club who hates you? Girlfriend, he said. Ex-girlfriend. I guess both Brittany's hate me now. Sorry, I didn't know. It just happened yesterday. He wrapped a metal bar behind him. The last time we came here, she drew a heart on the bridge. It has our names in it, J plus Brit. I just wanted to draw a zigzag crack down the middle like it's broken. Uh-huh, Ellie paused, thoughtful. So 20 minutes ago, did you feel a strong emotion? Fear, maybe? Not really, he said. Damn. We can brainstorm a safer graffiti plan tomorrow, okay? She said. I gotta go. She stepped back, nodding. What's the rush, Ellie? Do you want company? No, thanks. She threw one leg over her bike and balanced on her tiptoes. I'm worried about my parents because, wow, it's probably nothing. It doesn't matter. You have my number, he said. Need anything? Give me a call. Same here. She reached out to ruffle his hair, and Jay tucked his chin to help a 5 foot nothing buddy out. His scalp shocked her. That's supposed to be lucky, Jay said, smoothing his hair down. It occurred to her that luck could also be bad. Mounting dread chased Ellie across the bridge, down a web of streets, and through a cinema parking lot. She spotted the Bride family car, a battered looking minivan, near the entrance. Her parents were the kind of people who enjoyed Monday night movies because the low traffic freed superior parking spots and theater seats. Flushed from the two-wheel exercise, Ellie leaned against the ticket booth and said, When does the lonesome let out? 15 minutes, the employee said. His red vest, an usher's uniform, was a couple sizes too loose. It made him seem too young for the night shift. Can I wait in the lobby? She asked. That's fine, just stay behind the velvet rope. He seemed ambivalent to her bicycle, so Ellie wheeled it inside to prevent theft. Her mountain bike had a new high performance set of tires. Although their performance rating was based on grip, maneuverability, and durability, Ellie figured that they also performed well attracting thieves. Plus, her bike was neon green, not the most subtle of colors. Inside the lobby, several formica-topped tables were clustered beside the concession stand. Popcorn kernels crunched under Ellie's tennis shoes and became lodged in their squiggly treads. She sat and basked in butter-smelling air, comforted by the relative calm. Her parents had made it to the movie theater in one piece. They weren't trapped in a burning wreck along the highway. If her mother or father had experienced an in-movie health crisis, one painful enough to trouble Kirby, there'd be EMTs outside and several missed calls on her phone. Still, Kirby didn't tuck his invisible tail and run through walls for fun. Who else did he know? Jay, Ellie, Ellie's parents, all were safe. The goth neighbors used to love him, no surprise there, but they were 1,000 miles away. Nothing she could do to help them. Kirby also cared about Ellie's grandparents, cousins, uncles, and aunts. Did she have their numbers? She scrolled through her DM history and found a 2-year-old conversation with cousin Trevor. Although they used to be tight, Trevor's life became hectic after he married a teacher named Lenore Moore and moved to the Rio Grande Valley and had a baby. The baby, now 7 months old, had been born premature, almost dying twice in neonatal intensive care unit. Little Gregory was doing well now, though, right? Ma'am, do you need anything? The concession clerk asked. And it took Ellie a moment to accept that at 17 she was now old enough to be called ma'am by strangers. No thanks, she said. She needed the night to end without death. She needed to be overreacting. She needed Kirby's fit to be a fluke. But were they needs or were these wants? Did Jay need to break a cartoon heart on the Heratonic Bridge? He acted like it, risked his life for it. Maybe sometimes wants feel like needs, because the alternative hurt too bad. A few moments later, the post-movie crowd filled the lobby. Ellie had left her bike propped against a table and found her parents near the washrooms. Ellie, what the heck are you doing here? Her father asked. Luckily, he sounded more concerned than angry. You biked here? Her mother asked. In the dark? Do you realize how dangerous that is, Ellie? What if a car hits you? Your phone was off, she said. Plus, I have warning lights, and Kirby came with me. Ellie took a gulp of water from the drinking fountain. Kirby freaked out. He was zipping through walls. And the last time that happened, Grandpa... Hey, what's wrong? Her parents were suddenly glued to their smartphone screens. 6 missed calls, her mother said. Are most of them from your brother? Her father asked. He called me, too. Did he leave a message? Mom? Dad? Shh, Ellie, I'm listening to the voicemail. What did Uncle want? Ellie asked, and she felt goosebumps rising on her arms. I don't know, but he sounds terrible, her mother said. I need to call him back. The family exited the theater and congregated around their minivan. The nearby mountains perspired. Soupy mist flavored every breath that Ellie swallowed. She eavesdropped on the one side of a conversation that became more frightening with every word. How bad is it? Was followed with, what did the doctors say? And is there any chance he'll wake up? Then Ellie's mother started shaking so hard that she almost dropped her phone. And that's how she cried. No tears, just lots of shivering. Like her sorrow was an earthquake, not a storm. By the time the call ended, they were all alone, and Ellie was terrified. Trevor was in a serious car accident, her mother explained. She bowed her head, already mourning. He's being treated at the Maria Northern Trauma Center. It probably will not save his life. Cousin Trevor? Ellie asked rhetorically, because who else could it be? Yes. Mom, Ellie said. She sounded shrill, desperate. If he dies, I can... Ellie, her mother cut her off. No. But you must never, raising her voice now, you must never, all humans, all of us, without exception, her father continued, because he was capable of calm speech, practicing veterinary medicine, had not hardened his heart, but it had taught him how to restrain signs of pain. Human ghosts are terrible things. Ellie looked up to the sky, and she saw an owl circling overhead.